So it's now been roughly 5 months since the iconic N7 Day, which is that one day of the year where the Mass Effect community celebrates the franchise. And for the past 4 years, this has been the day of occasion where we get to see a glimpse of the future of Mass Effect. Now on this N7 Day, that being the last one, we got our biggest glimpse yet. But just when we thought that we'd be getting some answers to some of the biggest questions we had, we all walked away with even more questions than before. Like, who the hell is this helmeted figure? Is it Shepard? Is it Ryder? Is this a new character altogether? Maybe it's not even the protagonist we'll be playing as. What's the deal with the nightclub scene on the official art, and what does it have to do with this figure? Why does this look like Garrus? Is that Liara? Wait, there's a Geth and an Angara? What in the actual That, my ladies and gentlemen, has been the reaction for most of the Mass Effect fanbase. And I have to admit that I was just as confused as you guys with these new teasers. And now for months, fans all over the world have been working hard at cracking the code. And no one's come up with an answer yet. But I want to propose my own theory here. And even just for a day, return to my roots as a Mass Effect theorist YouTuber. But before I start, I just want to give a huge thank you to all of my N7 squad members. Your support to the channel has been amazing, and I could not do this gig without you. Now, the N7 Day 2023 teasers were not the first teasers that we've seen. Obviously, as on previous days, Mass Effect project director Michael Gamble has deigned to show us this here poster of a Geth-shaped crater and subsequently this strange transmission of what's supposedly a mass relay under construction. What's more is that this transmission contained encrypted audio that, when decoded, revealed the voice of Liara Tassoni speaking to what's obviously a Geth, which spawned even more questions.
I can see it. How did we miss this? Exactly. The Council will be furious.
There has been other material released as well, specifically concept art pieces that seems to suggest that the Milky Way galaxy has actually gotten back up on its feet after the Reaper War in Mass Effect 3. If we wind the clock back even further, it all started in December 2020 with the release of the official teaser trailer during the Game Awards. And oh boy, was it glorious. It brings a tear to the eye. Anyway, if we look at all these mysteries, it's just clear as day that the Mass Effect team has laid out a mystery. A mystery that's just getting more and more difficult to solve because we're now asking so many questions and nothing we've seen so far can be used to really explain anything. Or can it? You see, that's why videos like these exist. And so I'm going to give you my take or explanation, if you will, on everything that we've seen so far, mostly. First of all, the leading questions of the day, or any day really when it comes to Mass Effect, are who the hell is this character, and is Commander Shepard coming back? And so naturally, if you combine the two, you can go by the assumption that this is Commander Shepard, and Michael and the Mass Effect team are just messing with us like big old jerks. Now, if we go by the assumption that this is the new protagonist and Shepard is left in the dirt, then, well, basically everything is on the table. The mass relay construction here obviously is meant to bridge the Milky Way and Andromeda Galaxy, and that would explain why we see an Angara talking to what seems to be Liara in this new poster. The Geth-shaped crater is obviously an indicator to the Geth returning, which we also see in the new poster. And the crater itself suggests there to be a brewing or ongoing conflict that we'll be involved in. The futuristic art scene in the concept art pieces explain that we're indeed seeing a Milky Way galaxy that's more advanced than ever, and that life is most likely thriving across the galaxy. Liara exploring a snowy planet littered with Reaper corpses and ending with her finding an N7 helmet piece and smiling is most likely just her reminiscing about the good old days with Shepard and the original crew. And that our player character and our new crew is waiting right over here in the background. And if we look at the shape of the figure in the middle here, it would seem that this could be the very same figure that was recently revealed. So, as you may have noticed, things become pretty simple if we just go by the assumption that this is a new protagonist altogether, and we might be reunited with a couple long-lived characters from the original trilogy, like Grunt, Rex, Liara, maybe Arya, you know, Asari and Krogan characters, because they live long lives. But if we go by the assumption that this is not a new character, and this is indeed the return of the legendary Commander Shepard, well, we've just thrown a monkey wrench into the whole damn thing. First of all, the biggest issue by far is the appearance of this Angara right here, because how could an Angara be in the Milky Way galaxy when the Angaran people only get introduced to the Milky Way races in 2819, which is more than 600 years after Shepard's story. What's more is that during N7 Day 2023, the community had to decode various teasers throughout the day, teasers suggesting that someone in the Milky Way gets a distress call from the Andromeda galaxy, which obviously could only happen during or after the Andromeda storyline takes place. To make matters even more confusing, the mass relay construction footage suggests that the in-game footage was recorded on the 7th of November, and 7-day Easter egg, of the year 90. And so many have gone by the assumption that this would be the year of 2190, which is just 3 or 4 years after the Reaper War, which started in 2186. But you see, the date seen here could just as well translate into the 7th of November, 2890, which would put it neatly 71 years after the Andromeda storyline takes place. And so with this prominently featured N7 character being very strongly connected with the year 2819, which is the year that's also displayed on one of the encrypted transmissions during N7 Day, it would seem very odd to connect Commander Shepard to a year that's so far removed from his or her lifetime. And so if we're being logical here, Shepard just isn't connected to it at all.
Bang, okay?
Well, unless Shepard is now an immortal cyborg because of the Cerberus implants, which I doubt is the case since Shepard still has a human heart and a human brain. With all this said, it's important to note that Michael Gambol has become very known for being extremely vague, especially on Twitter. Now, one thing that stands out, especially with N7 Day 2023, is that Michael went ahead and tweeted, "Not everything is as it seems." And so we have to ask ourselves, is everything just as simple as I proposed earlier in the video, or is there more to it? And so I present you with my own Mass Effect timeline. Now, what I've done with this here graphic is to try to create the scenario for which Shepard can return for the next game. And now, since we know that the Geth are returning and that the Reapers appear to be destroyed, I've chosen to proceed with the perfect destroy ending storyline to build off of. First of all, we see Shepard's chest taking a breath in the perfect destroy ending, and so we can assume that Shepard gets found and is slowly nursed back to health. Secondly, going by the assumption that the Reapers are destroyed, there is obviously going to be a scramble to recover as much Reaper technology as possible because of its inherent value. Due to the power vacuum right after the Reapers are defeated, leadership among the different races will still be somewhat distrustful of each other, and so because everyone is trying to hoard Reaper technology, as you do, some races will inevitably have the upper hand. Now, if we go by the assumption that this character here is Shepard, we can also assume that Shepard is investigating something. And by looking at the N7 Day 2023 footage, we can see some obvious Cerberus coloration appearing here, suggesting that they might have something to do with the rising conflict. For further evidence, we can just go back to the N7 Day 2021 and the Geth crater poster, where we see a squad approaching from below, which again suggests an ongoing investigation. Now, just before the galaxy engulfs into a full-scale conflict, Shepard and the squad manages to find out who the culprit is, and they discover that this culprit or faction has engineered most of the rising conflicts in order to weaken the other races further. Hence, explaining the Geth crater and possibly the mass relay-looking construction that may or may not actually be a weapon of mass destruction. Thankfully, Shepard and the squad manages to stop the villains and inform the public before it's too late, and so we get a Milky Way that is united stronger than ever thanks to Shepard and the Normandy crew's efforts. And so in order for the series to continue, Shepard and the team gets a memorable legacy, and we get to say one last goodbye to our beloved commander. We simply get the famous one more story about the Shepard.
Tell me another story about the Shepard.
It's getting late, but okay. One more story.
And this, my ladies and gentlemen, could explain what Michael meant by not everything is as what it seems. That we're simply looking at this all in the wrong way. And what the team has been teasing is the future of the franchise after Shepard gets to unite the galaxy. that this Angara here and the unification of the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies are thanks to Shepard and the crew's efforts. However, as you may have noticed, one really has to stretch the creative muscles for this to work. And even I, who do consider myself a Mass Effect aficionado, find it incredibly unlikely that something like the previously mentioned scenario would ever happen. But you know what? I want to know what your take on this is. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more MrHulthen. Signing out.